Hello everyone. It's been a really long time. Just a minute. It's been over a year since you've seen me, and I'm so sorry. That little pipsqueak over there is the reason why. That's Miss Rosemary. Hello. Hello. Yeah. She is 7 months old now. Can you believe it? So I stopped podcasting because I was so sick, pregnant with her, and I lost all my knitting mojo. I lost it all. It was gone. I was super sad because I have this beautiful stash of yarn and I'm sitting in here sick on the couch for months, and it made me sad because I was like, oh, will it ever come back? My knitting mojo. But I've lost it with all of my kids. She's number 4. I've lost my knitting mojo 4 times. But it's always come back somewhere in the second trimester. But with her, it just didn't really come back. It was a real labor of love just to get her baby blanket done. And so I really only knit 2 things during pregnancy. I knit her baby blanket, which I designed, and I finished my rainbow scrappy blanket, which is upstairs in my room. I'll show that on another podcast because I have quite a pile of stuff here right now. But I missed this. It's finally time to try to get back into a groove. My knitting mojo came back with a vengeance. Like, honestly, the day she was born, I cast on a pair of socks the night before we were going to go have her, because that's what I always do with all of my babies. I have a pair of socks from when they were born. So I cast on a pair of socks the night before we had her, and my knitting mojo has been back ever since, huh? Yeah. So let's get back into routine. My name is Leah, or Pygmy Tiger Knits on Instagram. I am a very avid knitter and mom of 4 girls, Edie, Lucy, Maggie, Rosie. And now they are 6, 4, 2, and 7 months old on Wednesday. So that's pretty crazy. My life has been insane, but in a good way. Taking care of 4 and figuring out life is 4. But we are officially done having babies. We are done. We upgraded our vehicle. I have a really awesome mom ride now. And I can't fit any more kids in it. I mean, I could, but we logistically can't fit more car seats in that back row. So we can't. Right now, you'll hear me. I'm a little bit hoarse. We're at the end of a really fun virus that we've all had. Edie brought it home first, and the rest of us have just dominoed the whole way. And there's been cough and ear infections and lots of snot and also pink eye because of this virus. It's weird. So we are finally on the outs. We went to the urgent care for the 3rd time in a week yesterday, and everybody's on a new course of antibiotics and steroids to help. This honestly has hit our house harder than COVID did when we got it last February. I don't know what it is about February, but something in February happens and the sickness just rages in our house. This year it was this virus. Last year it was COVID. I can't remember if we had anything in the year before that, but the year before that, when I was pregnant with Margaret, we all had, well, myself, Edie, and Lucy, we got RSV. So we really don't like February. We're teasing that maybe we'll just pull all the kids out of school next year and go somewhere else to avoid this next year. But are you gonna eat the teddies? Yeah, you're gonna eat the teddies? Come here. Let's bring Rosie up here. Oh, poor little girl Rosie. She has also lost her little voice. So she's got this teeny tiny little cry right now, which is almost the cutest thing if it wasn't so sad. So she's a busy beaver, but she has fit in really well and has very much completed our family. So despite not having knitting mojo, I still wanted to do some things because I just needed to feel that accomplishment. I don't know if any other stay-at-home moms, or just moms in general, not necessarily stay-at-home moms, who are crafters and makers, feel that so much of our life is wash, rinse, repeat. Same shit, different day, you know. How many times do we do dishes? How many times do we cook meals? How many times do we do laundry, fold away laundry, and then it's back in the clothes that night even? Pick up the floor. Like, it's just monotony. So knitting has been that visual, has been that visual progress for me that makes me feel, I don't want to say validated, but just like I'm getting somewhere every day. So it's still very important in my routine that I am knitting or making or doing something. Otherwise, it just really doesn't look like you do much, even though you've done it all several times, in fact. So while I was on maternity leave, some of the other fiber arts that I was getting into was Sashiko stitching, which is a Japanese art of mending and stitching and adding embellishment onto fabric. Traditionally, it's on blue fabric with white and varying shades of white thread. That's all I really know about it in the traditional sense. I follow some people on Instagram and I've always really liked it. So I ordered a kit. So this is one of my pieces. It's one of the traditional designs. This really cool star motif. So I had my little, I was actually using a yarn bowl. You want to see? I was using a yarn bowl and carrying it around the house. So doing stitching just to feel like I was doing something and making progress. Does that taste yummy? So, and then I have one more that I finished. It's all circles. This is very fun, very meditative, and just something a little bit different to keep my mind busy. I also read several books because I don't get to read a lot in general. I really like reading, but I'd rather be knitting, and it's hard for me to listen to books unless I'm in the car, which when I'm in the car with the kids, it doesn't really work anymore. So I made these. There's one more that came in the kit. It's like this billowy arch one that I didn't do yet, but I'm intending to use these to make a project bag in the future. I also decided to get into a bit of English paper piecing, which is a way of quilting and piecing tops. Here's my little, and I liked that because this has everything I need in it for my English paper piecing. Oh, you want to see that too? Yeah. So with English paper piecing, here, you want your burp cloth? You have these little, and my mom rated it when she was here recently. So you have a little piece of hexagon or cardboard and a piece of fabric that you trim and you baste it. So there's this little stitch around that holds that in. And I used a little bit of glue to help hold the fabric initially in the very first flap. And then you start stitching. I've been told that I probably shouldn't have made these as long as I did, and I probably won't in the future, but it was my first time. So I made chains like this and tiny, tiny stitching. I don't know if you can see it. Let me try to focus it. Right there, like barely visible. Stitching. Oh my goodness, hard to focus, especially with one hand. But so chain together, and I'm working on just a big 100. You want to see that too? There's going to be 100 hexes in this, and I think I'm going to combine these with the Sashiko together to create a really unique project bag with all my little pieces. It's really, really fun. I decided to splurge a little bit, and I've been using Liberty of London fabric, which if you are not a fabric person is a really, really fine, high quality fabric made in London. And the thread count is very, very small. It's very, very fine. It's like almost silky. And their prints, they specialize in prints. Their prints are just outstanding. So I ordered a couple fat 1/8 sets from Crimson Tate in Indianapolis. If you're from Indianapolis or ever go there, if you're into fabric, they have a wonderful online shop, or fabric, I mean, and they're just wonderful. And Heather Givens is the owner. She used to be an art teacher, and then she started designing fabric while she was teaching. And then she was finding that they were competing for her time, so she stopped teaching to take on design full time and opened the shop. And she doesn't just carry her own fabric, she carries lots of different fabrics, but she's a wonderful human. She's very kind. Her shop is kid friendly, which for moms, that is really important, to feel like you can come and browse with your children and also just include your children in it. My mom started bringing me to fabric stores when I was very young. I started sewing when I was 5, which makes me feel behind because Edie's 6 and, you know, I could start the sewing machine and go for it. So maybe I need to kick that up a notch. Edie does knit. She needs me right next to her still, and that's totally fine. So definitely want to bring up another generation that loves the fiber arts for sure. As clearly you do. You like that texture? So Crimson Tate, she's wonderful. Liberty of London, super fun. And that was one project that I was working on, have been working on along the way. And when my knitting mojo came back, I kind of set this aside, but it's a very small commitment. You just need a needle, you just need thread, some fabric, and the hexies and a glue stick. So that's kind of really great. And see, here's one of Heather's illustrations. That's her illustration of herself. And she always sends fun stickers and pencils and stuff. She really loves art supplies, and that's very relevant and evident in her fabric. So those are the two things that I worked on that were not knitting related while I was pregnant with this little one. The next thing that I made, I actually decided that I was going to design her baby blanket because I've been wanting to get into design for a while and starting to design patterns. And I figured a baby blanket is flat and, you know, I feel like that was a good jumping off point. So I did, and originally I bought, you can see it right here, this yarn. It's called Frank Ochre from Malabrigo Rios. And I absolutely love that color. And this was before we knew that she was going to be a girl. And when I saw it, I was like, to me, this could be gender neutral. It could sway one way, it could sway the other. And our baby names originally were Martha and Matthew. And I was like, okay, I like this. I like this color. It's one of my favorite colors. But then my mom said, oh, Marty Farty, because all of our kids have long names that we do call them nicknames, and I call all of their names all the time. And well, then Martha was out. So we bounced a bunch of names back and forth, and the girls kept wanting to name her Blueberry. And so we just kept pitching names and pitching names and pitching names, and they kept shooting them all down. And I kept going to Rosalie. Coming back to that, I really like the Rose, Rosie, Rosalie. We like to have the IE or Y sounds at the end of our girls' names. And finally we just like, well, let's just name her Rose and call her Rosie all the time. And we asked the girls, we're like, hey, what do you guys think of Rosie? And they all loved it. So it was like, okay, done deal. And I thought, oh man, I cannot wrap my brand new baby girl Rose in Frank Ochre. That's just not. So I had to buy more yarn, and I chose this color. It's called Fuchsia, and again, it's Malabrigo Rios. And to me, a baby blanket, it's very important that the design look reversible, that it works well both sides. As a knitter, I know which side is the right side, but other people that look at it, I don't want them to tell. My other thing about blankets is I really love seed stitch borders. That's one of my very favorite textures in knitting. So I knew I wanted that, and I knew I just wanted to use knits and purls and create a design that way. So I actually created, I'm going to sit you down for a minute so I can hold up your blankie. Sit. Good job. Yeah, here's your bear. So I really wanted to have this kind of lattice diagonal design. There, now you can see it with the sun. First time, not first time, but rare time where I'm podcasting during nap time. So I wanted it to have this diagonal feature, multiple lines. I played with this a lot. I had dots in the center, but once I must have cast on, I don't know, 3 or 4 different times for this, but I really, really, really love it. It's called Rosies Blanket, and it is live on Ravelry. I think it's like just $3.50, so really reasonable. I listed 2 sizes, and I also told you how to expand the design if you want. It is charted, but it's also, I also wanted the design to be very intuitive. So once you set up your lines and you can start reading which direction your diagonals go, you don't need to hold your pattern and have it with you all the time. You just have that sense of where it's going. So Rosie really loves her blanket. In fact, if it's time to wash her blanket, which it is right now, but I'm reluctant to, because when I have it drying, she has a hard time sleeping if she doesn't have her blanket, which is just crazy that that's happened already in the first 7 months of her life. And another reason I choose Malabrigo Rios is it's extremely easy to care for and wash. I just throw it in a mesh garment bag, and I thought I had one. Oh, I do. I just got a new one from Coco Knits. But a mesh bag like this. Mesh bag, and I pop it in there, and I wash it on gentle or wool setting with cold water, and I use wool wash, and then I pull it out and lay it flat to dry, and it's all dry. And depending on the humidity, it can dry in just a few hours. Yeah. So that is Rosie's blanket. You want your blankie? Yeah. Is it your comfort? And speaking of blankies, one of the frustrating things I've been having, because my girls really do love their blankets, and that makes me so thrilled that they do. They love their blankets. And I was a blanket kid, always have been. I've always had an attachment to my blankies. I didn't understand why they're so attached to my knit blankies, more so than their quilts, until I had my knit blanket that I made myself. Like, it lays different. It kind of hugs you. It's got a different weight to it. And I do tell them, that when I'm knitting for them, I knit love into every single stitch, so they're wrapped in mommy's love. Well, you want a passy? Oh, your sad little voice right now. Yeah. Oh, we'll find it. We'll find it. I know we had it. There's one. Here you go, honey. You tired? Yeah. Here you go. Here, you wrap up. Tuck her in. So Maggie, my 2-year-old, she is almost abusive to her blankie. This was, I can't remember what pattern. It's on the Pearl Soho website for blankets. It's a free pattern. It's all these long triangles, and I knit it using, what's the yarn? Plecky, that I picked up when I was pregnant with her. We went to their sample sale right before COVID hit and went crazy. And we went specifically for their second swall because they would do a sale and everything on the second swall. And that's like, the color didn't turn out like it was supposed to, or it touched another yarn that was drying. So it has like a splotch of another color that's not supposed to be there. Things like that. $10 a skein. And then their premium skeins, like the cashmere silk, those kinds of things, were only $20. Normally a lot of them are $60. So we went specifically for that. And then every month they would have a specific sale for that month, and the entire store was $10 skeins and $20 for premiums. It was ridiculous. So I ended up purchasing almost $1,000 worth of yarn for $300, including all the yarn for her blanket, which I got merino cashmere at $10 a skein. So this is cheaper even than Malabrigo to knit her blanket. So I picked up 8 colors, and it was really fun. It's the only blanket I've made my girls that has more than one color. But Maggie does this right now. She keeps grabbing the loops and pulling, and it actually got so bad, you'll see right here, I had to do major surgery because she pulled one and it snapped and it unraveled between these 2 colors. So I had to drop down like 20 rows and re-pick up. That's why it's so messy. I haven't washed it since. And within 2 days of her having it back, she starts pulling more. She's got, like, look at what she's done. Ah! So hers, I'm very frustrated because it takes a while to fix those runs. And what I do is I come in with, let me find it here. I go in with my Susan Bates tool, the end of it, and I pick and pull and redistribute those stitches. It never looks like it did when I first knit it, but I can get it pretty close. So it's just, and I will say, Plecky color-wise, her blanket's 2 years old. Color-wise, it has not held up as good as the Malabrigos. Like, we do wash it a lot, but it's dulled down a bit. It's lost its luster, but the Malabrigo doesn't. Lucy's has, but Lucy's is 4 years old, and only recently have I had to do a crochet edge all the way around because it's starting to actually wear and lose a lot of the fiber. But again, that's 4 years old. She drags it everywhere still and sleeps with it every night. So I'm not sad about that. And also, I accidentally let hers, I forgot that I had let it soak, and it leached a lot of the color out of it. But that was my fault, not Malabrigo's. But anyway, that's the frustration. My mom was here recently for a month, and we went up to, not Higgins, Houghton Lake, to Roscommon, to a shop from my friend Denise. Hi, Denise, if you're watching. She owns a shop called Morning Glory Mercantile, which is one of those cool stores that a lot of people have booths and various items. Some of them new, some of them handmade, some of them are, they're collectors, antiquers, garage estate sale people, and they're reselling. So went up there just to get out of the house for a bit with the kids. It was in January, and we found a hand knit blanket. And I was like, well, hot damn. And I know it's acrylic yarn. It's definitely a more novice knitter. I can tell from the way the ends are woven in, but it's very soft. And Maggie was drawn to it, and I thought, oh, you need a backup blanket to have when yours is out of commission or being washed. And look what the little girl has done. So her blankets are on timeout for a while, and she's using quilts at the moment. So we've been working through that developmental stage at the moment. My mom was here in January. She was supposed to come the end of January into February. Let me get a drink. She was supposed to come the end of January into February as a scheduled visit, but my father-in-law, Mark, had some major health issues and ended up needing to go into the ICU at the end of December. And I knew that it wasn't going to be good. And I called my mom because just so I believe everything happens for a reason and when it's supposed to, for the most part, at least. And when I was at the hospital with Brenton and we're trying to make I was trying to support him making decisions. I just looked, and there was a flight to here for only $300, which is extremely reasonable flying here because we're a little tiny airport coming from Seattle. So I asked my mom to come, and she did. She got here on my birthday, and I'm very, very glad she was able to be here because my father-in-law did inevitably pass on January 11th, and it was really, really hard. It's been really hard for my kids. It's been especially hard for my husband. So doing all that. But I was very grateful and fortunate that my mom was able to be here and kind of support all of us and be with us. And when deaths happen, in my family, at least when I was a kid, my grandma Nani died. My mom, that Christmas after she had passed, surprised myself, my sister, and my two cousins with teddy bears that she had made from my grandma's wool coats. And it made me feel better. And when my best friend Shannon, her dad passed, it'll be 2 years this May, I immediately asked for if I could have some of his shirts to make his grandson Nash a teddy bear. Because Nash is extremely close to his gramps, his papa. And I had enough left over because Nash now has a sister who is 1. I had enough left over and even more after that to make a shirt or a teddy bear for Shannon and for her niece, Lily Jo. And so when Mom was here, Brenton had asked if we were going to make teddy bears for our girls from my father-in-law's shirts. Oh, poor Sicky. Oh, it's okay. She's asleep. So my mom and I got right on it, and it was a labor of love for a whole week of making all these bears. But my girls now have a teddy bear made out of a shirt that was their grandpa's, and my oldest, Edie, I actually have a picture of my father-in-law holding her wearing the shirt that her bear is made out of. So that was really special. And the girls actually all have their bears upstairs in their bedrooms right now, but these are the ones for my best friend Shannon and her niece, made out of his old shirts, Papa Joe. So can't wait to get them to them soon. So thought I'd show you guys those. It's not just knitting in here, but this was truly a labor of love, because when I was thinking about shirts, I would initially think dress shirts because there's a lot more, there's no stretch in button downs. But Mark did not have a lot of button downs, and Shannon's mom sent me, or Shannon sent me, knits. So this is actually a marled knit sweater that we ironed on the stabilizer on the back of, and the other shirt she sent was a thermal, so I used a combination of the two for Shannon's bear to have a hodgepodge. So got lots of bears. I got a whole army, but the girls really love them. And Maggie, who has never really been a stuffed animal kid like my other ones, she sleeps with it, and she wants her Gramps bear. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. If anybody has, I know lots of people do deal with death and things like that. It's really a challenge, and it comes in waves, and you just got to keep functioning. Explaining death to children has been the biggest challenge for me as a mom, in helping them process that. So anyway, moving on. Something more positive. Look at this cute moose. So 2023 I have dedicated to the year of no buying yarn. I have a huge stash. I've been wanting to challenge myself on clearing it out and using what I have. And so that's what 2023 has been about. So one of the first things I did, I have quite a stash over here of Susan B. Anderson's stuffy kits, because she does such an amazing job. Her patterns, if you want to get into stuffy knitting, are written so well. There's photographs along the way. She has tutorials, and just the way she writes them, and to be seamless. Like, you start with Mr. Moose at the top of his head, you add waist yarn, and you come pick up his snout later. You move down, you're adding purl bumps along the way to mark where to pick up arms and legs and everything later. So there's not a lot of sewing involved. Even the antlers and ears. It was so fun. So that's Mr. Moose. She designed him for an issue, I can't remember which magazine, but it's since been released from that company, and you can purchase it on Ravelry. And he comes with this little sweater, and he actually came with enough yarn to knit a second sweater. So still working on that. And he even has a whole other kit that was his winter kit, and he has a cute little winter coat and a hat and a scarf and a little cardinal that sits in his pocket. So still working on that. Set it down for a minute, but it's still here. It's out and about. That's very fun. So if you ever want to get into stuffies, I highly recommend it. And I actually did finish, I finally finished Miss Olivia Pig. His name is Oliver Pig. It's another kit from Susan B. Anderson, but I have a house full of girls, so obviously her name is Olivia. And she sat up here, up there on my shelf with no legs for 2 years. I started knitting her right before I had Maggie. So, I mean, and her little ears stick through her little hood. I mean, come on. How cute. And my friends have been asking me at knit night, well, who are all these stuffies for? Do you make them for your kids? I'm like, no. My kids are too hard on things. Maybe when they're a little bit older. Or I'm just going to decorate my knitting room with all these stuffies. Because, I mean, Miss Lucy, my second, she is so into stuffed animals. But she's so hard on them. She keeps bringing them to me. Mom, there's a hole. There's a hole. So I'm constantly having to sew up stuffed animals. So no, they're not going to have my knit stuffies. I'm sure when I'm a grandma, I'll let all my grandkids play with them. But no, not yet. So anyway, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably another one, 6 more projects of these. So I think I'm going to try to do 1 a month, or at least get them all done this year. By the end of the year, I will have all my Susan B. Anderson kits done. I mean, look, she's got a little sweater. I mean, stop it. So cute. So, there's Susan B. Anderson. What else have I been doing? I have quite the pile here. One of my other things that I need to write up, I got to go to Sleeping Bear fiber retreat again in November. It was wonderful. It was nice to get away, have some time, but I taught the whole time. So there wasn't a lot of time for personal knitting, and that's fine. I had a blast. But I was working on this cutie little hat. I call it the Boing Boing Hat. And literally all I need to do is photograph it and knit it up and write it up, and it'll be live. But I knit this hat. The first one I made years and years ago. Breton and I were only engaged and living in Virginia. And I knew we were going to have kids. And I was very new to buying yarn online and Instagram. And I bought a little like monster kit that had 10-gram minis in it. And I used all of those alternately and made a beehive hat. And I altered it. I made a grown-up one for my mom. She had requested one. So I was like, oh, that'd be really cute. And that was in worsted weight. So I was like, I'll do fingering weight. And I wanted to have more of a tall taper like this. So I made it, and it was in my knitting room for years and years. And that was more of a gender neutral. There was oranges and blues and greens and good colors, lots of speckles. And all the girls have worn it. And last spring, I washed it because it had been on all 3 kids. I never washed it, and I was washing a lot of knitwear to store for the winter or the summer. And it like really stretched out like this. And it made me so sad because my favorite part about this hat is that it kind of has this motion, this boing boingness to it. So I was like, okay, well, and I hadn't written it down, couldn't find the original pattern I was inspired by or anything like that. So I just looked at it and counted and recreated it. And since I know I was having a girl, I just went in all my odds and ends and bits and bobs and threw them all in a bag and just kept pulling them out and making one. So this is one of my favorite hats. This will be a free pattern because it's been inspired by another pattern on Ravelry, but I'll call it the Boing Boing Hat. So I need to write that up and photograph it and get it out. And that would be really cool. That was really, really, really fun. So I was working on that up there, and it was so funny because there's a fashion show at the Sleeping Bear Fiber Retreat. This year was the first year. It was really great. It was lots of fun. It was very long, though. I hope maybe next time we edit it a little bit more, but it was still a blast, so much fun. And we were joking that because I had 2, I was working on the second one, that we were gonna put it on our boobies and walk. It was really, really funny. Speaking of boobies, you like my shirt? I just got it. I really like it. I was at the chiropractor today, and they said a mom definitely designed that shirt. So I can't wait to wear it at night tonight. I'm sure it's gonna be a blast. So did that. I taught intermediate colorwork, intro to brioche, and intermediate brioche. I really loved it. I learned a lot about, because I'm so used to teaching classes where we're meeting every week. I learned a lot about how I want to structure it differently next time, and have stitches already on several sets of needles so that they can practice along the way and mess up and not feel like they have a lot of stake in the game because it's my sample, not their yarn. And so in the future, I learned a lot. I love that. I love learning things that help make me a better teacher for next time. So still had a great time. Good food, good company. Found Petoskey stones this year. It snowed again, which is just, I guess, what it does that weekend. It was really good. And this year, 2023, they're actually opening up registration instead of once you're in now. It's a registration every year. So there probably is still spots. I don't know. But if you're interested, go to Sleeping Bear Fiber Retreat. Google it. I'm pretty sure there's a website. I can't remember what the website is specifically, though. So Google Sleeping Bear Fiber Retreat and talk to Tracy and go. It is a blast. And not having to plan meals, just sit and knit or spin or take classes. It was great. Lovely group of ladies. What else? That weekend I went up. I had brought and prepared this sweater. It's the Ruska sweater by Jessica McDonald Designs. I really, really love this. It's not often where I really love a pattern exactly the colors that they chose and knit with. She used Barrett Wool Company, which is Susan B. Anderson's wool company, to do this with. And I treated myself and I ordered the kit and I swatched and I got gauge with the required. Oh, so good. And so there's my fancy swatch. Look at that beautiful yarn, beautiful stitch definition. All of her wool is grown in the United States, milled, everything, dyed, everything in the US. She's in Madison, Wisconsin. And I gotta say, her yarn is really economical. This is worsted. I want to say you get 200 or 220 yards for $18.50, which is excellent, excellent. This is her, she has woolen spun and worsted spun, and I am thrilled about this. This will be my next sweater cast on. And if you're wondering why my swatch looks like this as opposed to a swatch like this with clean edges, when you are swatching, you need to swatch how you're going to be knitting your garment. So this sweater is knit in the round, so I knit my swatch in the round. So I cast on, I don't know, however many stitches, cast on, and then when I got to the end, I just carried my yarn, stretched a length of it to the other side, and just kept sliding, so it was like in the round. And when I was done, I just snipped and blocked it. And I gotta tell you, I'm very excited about this. Very, very excited about this knit. So that's that swatch. The next thing that, I'm just gonna dig out of this pile, all right? My pseudo stepmom, Karen. Hi, Karen. She's wonderful. I've known her since I was a little girl, actually. She used to have an in-home daycare in her house that was, I don't know, 2 miles from us. Excuse me. That was 2 miles from my, or not even, less than that, from our house. And she, my dad, and my mom all went to school together, and Karen's husband at the time, they all went to school together, so they all knew each other. It was really nice. So when her and my dad, obviously my parents are divorced, and she divorced her husband, but years and years ago, like we're talking, God, probably close to 2 decades now. So anyway, when her and my dad started dating, it wasn't weird for me. It was actually very comforting to know that I already had this person that I knew. And she's very much Grandma Karen to my kids, and she's just so sweet. She has 3 daughters of her own, and one of her daughters is so funny, has 3 daughters too, which I think is just kind of funny. So Karen recently went to Scotland. She went to Edinburgh. She got to go to Edinburgh. I was so jealous. She went with her friend for a wedding, and I kept teasing her. I'm like, Karen, you know, there's lots of yarn shops in Scotland. Just teasing, like not whatever, not like, I was not like, hey, buy me something. I was just teasing her. So she went and she brought me a gift bag. Number one, she brought the kids gifts. I don't know if you can see them. There's little sheepies that I've hung on my year-round Christmas tree. And I stole them from the kids because I'm like, you're going to wreck these. And they smell so good. They smell like wool. So good. And she was overwhelmed. She kept sending me pictures from yarn shops. I'm like, what are you doing? And so she just didn't know what to get me or anything like that. And she asked the lady. So she just ended up getting me a gift card to a shop. It's called Ginger Twist Studio. Ginger Twist Studio. Super cute. Love the cat. And she bought me a gift card. A very nice gift card. It was so nice. And I was perusing their website immediately. And this lady, I love her. She's called Woolly Original on Instagram. I've been following her for years. I've been trying to snag one of her bags because she designs these. They're machine knit with Shetland wool. They're machine knit. So this is all knit. And she makes this fabric, and then she makes bags out of her machine knit fabric. And look, it looks like it's lined with like an old, there's her name, Woolly Originals. See? It looks like she used old tablecloths or something for the liner. It's nice heavy fabric. And I was just like, this shop had them, because I always miss her updates, or I never get in early enough to get the bag that I wanted. And I'm like, shut the front door. So I got to use some of Karen's gift card for my lovely bag. And there was enough left over that I purchased 2 beautiful skeins of fingering tonal. And this is from the shop yarn. It's Ginger's hand-dyed sheepish sock. And this one's called Liquid Sunshine. It's 80% superwash British Blueface Leicester and 20% nylon. So Blueface Leicester is the breed of sheep. And this one is the same base, and it's called Breakfast with Ginger. sheepish sock, and I just really like those. So in the future, when I'm designing more socks, these will be paired together. Speaking of designing socks, I don't have them down here because I've worn them recently and they're upstairs drying. I designed not one but two socks in the, well, no, three actually. 3 socks in the last year. They're all on my Ravelry. The first one is called Holly Berries and Cream, and it was a Christmas sock pattern inspired for Christmas in July last year. Then the next one is called Apple Cider Donut Socks, or Cider Donut Socks. Sorry, I don't know my own patterns. Forgive me. And that was used from a yarn. Do I have it down here? No, I don't have it down here. It's called Moon Glow Fiber, and she's in Wyoming. And she had this kit, and it was beautiful. It's called Sweater Weather Sock Kit, and it's this beautiful burnt orange kit, and it was beautiful. It's called Sweater Weather Sock Kit, and it's this beautiful burnt orange color, like boot leather, almost like cognac kind of, and a brown and a white. And I was staring at it on my knitting table. And Rhinebeck was coming up, and she was about to do a Halloween knit along, and I was like, man. So I started sketching, and 2 designs came out of it, and I was very, very excited about it. The other one, I used another one of her sock sets called Desert. I think it's just like Desert Color, Desert Flower, Desert Sky, something. I'll look it up and put it at the bottom of the screen. And I used that one, and I designed another set of colorwork socks, which I really love, and I named them after my friend Tracy. So they're called Tracy's Desert Socks, and I love them. They're really fun to knit. Colorwork socks are a blast, and I had tons of fun. So we're gonna keep going with that and keep designing. I have lots of sketches and ideas in my notebook. I just need to keep going with it. So if you feel so inclined, go look it up on Ravelry. I was really excited. I'll put it down below. So yeah, all right, let's move stuff along here. Can't believe we're already talking for 42 minutes. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more things. So January traditionally for me is Selfish Knitting Month. My birthday is January 1st, and I'm always knitting for other people or for classes or for samples, whatever. So January is knitting just for me. And I've been planning this. I saw this yarn on Instagram a long time ago and fell in love. It was so pretty. I'll grab the skein. It's called My PZ Merino Wool. And this was out of England, I think, Britain. And I just saw it and I was like, oh, so drawn to it. It just looked happy. It looked like funfetti because the picture I saw on Instagram was it actually knit up. And I thought, oh, save it, mental note. Because I didn't know what I would want to make out of it. And then I went to hang out with my friend Chelsea and was knitting with her. She was working on Petite Knitter's November jacket, which was all brioche. She didn't have the sleeves on yet, so she just had kind of the vest portion as a cardigan jacket. And I'm like, that is fabulous. She's knitting it in I think she's knitting it in an alpaca merino blend. And it's so cozy and squishy and dense and lovely. And I pulled it on. I'm like, oh, I love this. So then I knew what yarn I wanted. And I knew what pattern. Because I thought, oh, this would be such a good vest. I wonder if I could, in my head, I'm wondering if I could modify it to a vest. Lo and behold, Miss Petite Knitter, she's already done that for me. So the November vest from Petite Knit, I'll show you a picture. Petite Knit November vest with pockets. Oh God, pockets, love pockets. So, and then shortly thereafter that, My PZ had a 20% off sale for a certain many, like I think you had to get 4 skeins or more to get the sale, 8 skeins. So I was swatching, and the original picture that inspired me and pulled me in was actually, she held it with a mohair, and I personally, mohair makes me itch. I don't like mohair. I love the look of it, but it makes me itch. I need a cashmere or something else. And I remembered that I had a skein of yarn from, where is it from? Brain fart. Post-pregnancy brain. I'll figure it out. But I had purchased, because someone had told me that Surrey alpaca, because alpaca also makes me itch, that Surrey alpaca is different and people react to it differently. So I purchased one skein to see if I would have reaction. And I had swatched for another sweater, which I'll show you on another podcast, using that yarn because there was a pattern in Pom Pom magazine for a gorgeous sweater that I will, again, show you on another podcast. So I was like, all right, well, I have a skein of that, of the Surrey in stash, and the pattern was for mohair. I'm going to knit a swatch to, number one, see if I like it, see if it knits nice, and if I itch. So I knit the swatch and I shoved it in my bra, and I slept with it that night, and I did not have any sort of reaction. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can use a Surrey option. And my friend Stephanie from Blooms and You, hi Stephanie, if you get to watch, she's a wonderful dyer and a local mom of 4 kids, and she's part of our knit group at Stranded Yarn and Coffee Shop here in Midland, and she's wonderful. And I said, hey, do you think you can help me out? So I gave her a skein, and she took it home and dyed the Surrey alpaca for me to see if I'd like it. So I have so many swatches for this one to decide. So she knit me a soft baby pink, and then we did an undyed one to see. And I really love both. I do. But I just still really love the pop of not having a mohair with it. So that was the inevitable decision. That doesn't mean I don't love Stephanie or her yarn. I will absolutely use both of those alpacas, Surrey alpacas, for other projects. So I swatched up to high heaven. And I don't know anybody else who gets frustrated when they're swatching and you don't get gauge, because you're like, oh man, I don't know what to do, yada yada. So because the pattern calls for Aran weight yarn using a size 4 needle, which means it's gonna tighten it up and be a very dense fabric. I did not get gauge on the size 4. So then I jumped up 2 needle sizes to a size 6 and still didn't get gauge. And so I decided, I was like, all right, let's just do the hard knitting math, which is kind of hard, but not at the same time. I picked which swatch I liked the most, and there isn't a huge difference, so I went with the size 6. So from there, I took my gauge swatch and counted my gauge, divided it by 4 to figure out how many stitches per inch I was knitting, and my measurements for what I want, and did the math. So how many inches do I actually want it to be? Then I multiplied it by the numbers per inch and got my how many stitches at the end circumference I need. Then I went in her pattern and found the size that was closest to that number, and that's the size that I'm knitting. So here is my November vest in progress, and I am absolutely loving this knit. It is the most interesting construction. Look at the back. Look at that. Oh, so cool. So she has you cast on a rectangle here that you're doing double knit, and then you knit this section and then pick up and go around and do around the arms and then join it. And it is so squishy and dense and beautiful. Here, let me pull it on. Now you get a real good view of my new shirt. I'm wearing my Portage cardigan, by the way, knit with Malabrigo Rios in the Sunset colorway. So here it is on. I just know I'm gonna knit the hell out of, or I'm gonna wear the hell out of this. It makes me so happy. It reminds me of Funfetti cake. So this is a double knit edging, which is extremely polished finish. So one of the next steps will be to pick up the stitches all around my arm and add this edging on both sides. Knit down, and then at the very bottom there's a double knit edge border, and then pocket. So I think I'm going to actually finish. I have this much less of this skein. I have not been alternating skeins either because they're dyed so evenly that I can't tell at all where there's any difference. which is nice because I can't wrap my head around alternating skeins with brioche. I just can't. So anyway, so I think when I'm done knitting this one, I'm going to use my next skein and do the edging for my arms, and the pockets are knit separately than sewn on. So I think I'm gonna knit both of those things so I have them, because I have 3 skeins left, because I'm just debating on length of where I want it to hit. So I just want to make sure I have enough yarn for the edging and the pockets, and then go crazy on the rest before I finish. But oh my god, I'm so excited for this. I've even mapped out, I have 2 more that I want to make already. I bought this yarn 2 years ago. This is Spun Right Round, called Spaced Out, on her bulky base. And I bought this intending to make the Ursa sweater from, what's her name? I want to say her name is Jacqueline. Sorry guys, I've been out of the loop and all the names aren't fresh in my brain. But anyway, I knit the Ursa sweater thinking I would like it on my body type, but I didn't. And it's just sat in my cedar chest upstairs. So I'm actually going to frog it. I'm going to rip it all out and frog it and use it for another vest, because I know that I will wear these constantly. I'm so excited about them because I kind of get warm really easily. I don't know what it is about pregnancy. It like raises my central body temperature up a few degrees every time, my tolerance for heat. So I'm gonna, but vests, because then my arms aren't covered. So good. And then I'm still cozy with squishy yarn. So I'm super pumped about that. You know, be the boss of your knitting. You don't like something, take it out. I was teasing my husband because he's like, you're gonna do what? I was like, why are you doing that? Like, I'm gonna get my money's worth, not once, but twice out of that yarn. The entertainment factor, twice. I knit not 1 sweater, but 2 sweaters with that yarn. The only thing though is that yarn, each skein is very different. And I do remember making sure I alternated for the Ursa sweater. So instead of alternating for when I knit the vest, I am gonna lay them all out, all those skeins, and fade it. I'm gonna pick one and have an order to the skeins. So that way it looks like I did that on purpose. And that way I avoid the alternating skeins and brioche issue. So that's that. Let's see. I finished a pair of socks last night. I'm actually wearing them. And I even have a sock blocker right here to show you. Oh, it's okay. Shh. Good girl. She's so good. So this yarn is Chelsea Luxe out of New Jersey. And it looks super stretched out on my sock blocker because it's been on my foot, and these sock blockers aren't the right size for me, but they were a gift. That's okay. So it's called Elsa is the main color. It was a sock set that I saw when she was doing, can't remember if I saw it on Instagram or if during Vlogmas. And I just loved it. I thought, oh, how delicate and cute and pink. And happy day when you get to start with fresh, new hand knit socks. So cute. So let me pull them back on here. I love new socks. My chiropractor's so sweet. She always notices my socks every time I get an adjustment and compliments them. She complimented these ones today. Shh, don't tell her. I'm knitting her a pair of socks. She's getting married in June or July. So I'm going to knit her a pair of socks. She's really great. She adjusts myself and all of my kids, including Rosie. And it really has made a difference, especially with Rosie. So it's super cute. So that means it's time to cast on another pair of socks. And I am not a monogamous knitter. I don't stick to one project. I bounce around, but I do try to only have one kind of each project around. So I usually have the pair of socks because they're good vanilla knitting for me. And then I usually try to have a sweater on. I have, you know, the stuffy, and then I have a shawl around too. And this is something else I need to get finished. Here's another pair of, they're not socks, they're slippers. These are the Andrea Mowry. They're mucklucks, but that's not the name of the pattern. They're called the Wanderer Slippers by Drea Renee Knits, Andrea Mowry. And this was what I cast on when I was at the retreat in November as well. And I got about this much. That's how much knitting I did. And I was also working on the swatches for this. So I have the first one done and the second one, I have that much. So generally, yeah, I have one color work project and whatever, but this is on the docket to finish up shortly too. That yarn is spun right round. Let me pull it back out one more time. I don't remember the colorway specifically. I'll look and add it later. Spun right round. Breton bought me these 2 skeins to make these a few years ago for Christmas. So I was in the mood to cast them on, and they're so cozy. So cozy. So those are on the agenda too. I'm bouncing around a little bit. But since I finished regular vanilla socks last night, it's time to cast on another. And right now, my new little basket, how cute is that? I forget, it's that famous basket company. What's it called? Longer Burger baskets. Where are they from? What state? In Ohio, Dresden, Ohio. Like, it's that crazy place that became a tourist destination. They have an entire giant building that's a basket. How cool is that? But now it's abandoned. But anyway, so they don't make these anymore. And when I was at Denise's shop up in Roscommon, I saw this and I was like, oh, that is just the cutest little basket for holding a skein of yarn and for socks. So I keep sock yarn in here, and I have my fancy scissors and my little cheat sheet for lengths of socks and chapstick, and so these are in here. But my second daughter, Lucy, has been asking me, Mom, are you going to make me socks? And I have not made socks for my kids yet. I've been putting it off and putting it off. Number one, because I think hand knit socks for little babies are silly because they kick them off so much and you lose them. And they grow so fast. And two, when my kids are toddlers and whatnot, they're constantly pulling off their socks and losing them and dropping them here and there and whatever. But Lucy is 4 and I want her to feel special. Well, all my kids to feel special. And so she has asked for socks, and she asked for rainbow socks. And lo and behold, I had this in my stash. It is, of course, Night Owl Fibers in Mambo number 5. So I wound this up last night, and her socks will be the socks that I cast on next. And I also had this glitter base, this glitter undyed base that I thought would be good for heels, toes, and cuffs for my kids. Hopefully they'll knit up really fast, because Carolyn, one of the owners of Stranded, she texted me yesterday, the day before, and she needs socks made for something or other, and she's like, you're the fastest sock knitter I know. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So hopefully hers will get knit up real quick, and hopefully she'll feel special. And my big girls are getting better about knowing where things go and when special things are. And I'll say, when you take these off, they go in a special place. They don't go in the rest of the laundry. They go in a special one. So hopefully hers will get knit up real quick, and hopefully she'll feel special. And my big girls are getting better about knowing where things go and when special things are. And I'll say, when you take these off, they go in a special place. They don't go in the rest of the laundry. They go in a special one so mommy can wash it properly, and it'll work for her. So it'll make her feel special, and to know that she got socks before Edie, because a lot of times, being the second, you know, they have that little complex of, well, I always get hand-me-downs, and my poor girls, I don't want them to feel that way. Well, so work on those tonight. Keep working on this. I'm very excited. Need to take this and unwind everything. Oh, and I guess I have 2 more things to talk about, or 3 more things. My latest obsession has been the lovely African baskets from Ghana. This one was my birthday gift from Brenton. I like this one. I love the way the sides come up a little bit and the handles. This one's been my go-to lately, carrying it around the house. I also have this one with more traditional basket form. It's so fun, and I love them, and I just keep stashing things in them. So really quickly, I wanted to show you guys my advents. I got 2 advents this year, and then the Cozy Sock Knitters Advent Sock Skein. I get 2 skeins of her yarn because I actually find I can get 2 pairs of socks out of 1 skein if to do a full repeat of the 24 rows for each socks, because she gives you 2 full repeats repeats on, and she splits the skein into 2. So you get 2 full repeats on each one. So I only need a half a skein. So I just order extra minis. So I usually knit one for me, I knit one for my mom, I knit one for my cousin Michelle this year because I haven't knit her a pair of socks and she's very knit worthy and I love her very much. Knit her a pair of socks this year, and I'll probably knit my Aunt Dawn another pair because she's also extremely knit worthy. And yes, so I got those. I don't have them down here because I've already worn them. I haven't been stashing my stuff because, you know, I've been out of the podcast group. I'll get back in, I promise, guys. So anyway, I'll show them on another podcast. So my 2 advents this year, I got one 25-day advent from Spun Right Round, and then I also got Spectrum Fiber again, and this was her first one in 2 years. She skipped last year because she had a baby. Yay! Brianny, she's so cute. So Brianny is the dyer and she specializes in neon. So I opted for the DK this year, and she did, well, I say this year, meaning 2022. I opted for the DK and she did a 12-day, and then at the end you could get a full skein. So look at all this yummy. Oh my god, it's like a bouquet of happiness. Oh my gosh. And then finished with this stunning peach orange speckle. So fun. I decided that since I already have so much fingering yarn that I wanted to diversify and add to my DK collection some more. I do have a blanket in mind. I have the brioche chevron, I think it's called a shanklet blanket from West Knit, Stephen West, that I thought these would be fun to plug in over there. Or it's going to be a faded Sophie scarf. I'm debating because I generally like a cowl as opposed to a scarf and add more bulk on my neck when I'm wearing it. But man, that Sophie scarf is just calling me. It's really pretty. Or again, the blanket. Man, I'm really into the knit blankies right now. I'm actually planning a few. So that was that one. The other thing, and again, all these purchases were in 2022. Okay, remember, 2023 is the year of no yarn buying as long as I can make it. There's rules. Like, let's say I run out of this yarn and I need one more skein. That's allowed. If I have 6 skeins, but I need 2 more to complete this project, that's allowed. I am allowed to buy the Advent skein from Cozy Knitter for this year because I have not missed a year in 5 years, and I won't miss this year. Things like that. So very special things. I haven't decided if I'm going to get an Advent for this year or not because, again, I do have so many minis already. We'll see. If I'm going to, I'm only going to get one. When I was at the retreat, Diane from Leland Fiber in Sutton's Bay, love her. Hi, Diane. Love you. Mwah. She had a bunch of mini skeins prepared for kits, and I was just like, oh my god, these are fabulous. Tell me more. Do you have more? And so she brought the entire basket. And they were all Emma's yarn. If you guys don't know Emma's yarn, I think she's she's got to be in her early 20s now. She started dyeing yarn when she was like, I don't know, 14 or something. Her mom owns a yarn shop called Four Pearls in Florida. It's north of Orlando. I haven't been, but friends have, and they say it's fabulous. So Diane brought the entire basket, and I had fun dumping it out on myself, and it rained yarn. It was really fun. And then I had fun sorting it all and picking all the colors and all the things. So this is not an Advent, but my husband Brenton, who does not request things for me to make him things very often, really, really, really loves my knit blanket. Really loves it. So I'm starting to just kind of slowly collect. I'm pulling from stash, but all of these colors spoke to me for him. So that's the beginning of his stash. And my inspiration is Shrek's Swamp, if that makes sense, but in a good way. Not like my husband is Shrek, but in a very lovable way. So sorry, that was just on top of this box where I'm trying to get to. Next is my Spun Right Round minis from Advent. And then again, they make me deliriously happy. This beautiful bouquet of all of these stunning colors and speckles. And I would have a hard time deciding between Spectrum Fiber and Spun Right Round for an advent for 2023, because they're just always so amazing and fabulous, and pulling them in all kinds of things, and use them for heel, toes, and cuffs, or scrappy projects, or I thought about maybe some sort of scrappy sweaters for the girls, or even the sea glass tee sweater. And look, here's that swatch I was talking about out of the what is it, the Surrey alpaca. Oh, so yummy. This is a fun bobble. I had a hell of a time with this. The first swatch I knit, I was using my wooden needles. I've always been a wooden needle person. I just like the feel of them. I don't like the slip of the metal or the feel on my finger. But I thought the first swatch I made was a bitch to do this stitch. And I thought, I bet you I'm going to need metal needles for this. And I said, I will order metal needles and try the swatch again. And if it's still awful, then the sweater is just out. But the metal needles worked. So this is on the docket for 2023 as well. This gorgeous yarn. Oh my God, it's so fluffy. Oh, I will make sure to pull out the pom-pom mag and show you the pattern next time. So anyway, the other skeins I got from Diane from the beautiful basket of minis is another wonderful bouquet of fun, bright, fantastic colors. Just, oh, they make me so happy. So I don't know if it's going to be a garment, if it's going to turn into another blanket, because I really love my blanket. I sleep with it every night. I want one in every room in the house. I want one on the couch that's mine. I want one in my knitting room. And I had so much fun with that marling, and it was like painting with yarn and seeing how the colors work together and play together, and it was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. It was very, very, very simple. It was brainless. I really love the I-cord edging I added. I love it. It's so cozy. And to know that I used 10 years worth of scraps of fingering weight yarn to make that, I like that. I like that sustainability of using everything. Like, I don't know if you guys can see right here, I save all of the little bits and ends of things and put it up there, because I don't know what I'm going to do with it one day. I saw somebody who was doing rug hooking. They call them wormies. The little, you know, ends from where your skeins have been held together, or just the little couple inches when you're sewing in an end and stuff. It's hard for me to get rid of that stuff because it's so pretty and it's useful, and I don't know. So I really love my blanket. There's going to be more. I really love scrappy, bright, colorful things. Someone told me about this new thing called the happiness clothing movement, which is about just wearing, just not giving a shit about what anybody else thinks but you, and how it makes you feel. And does it make you happy to wear it? Does it make you smile? You know, so many people asked me when I was swatching for my vest, they just were like, oh, what are you gonna make? Are you gonna make something for the girls, for the kids? You know, what are you thinking? And I get it. Like, this is a very juvenile, like, initially when you look at it, reaction. But no, it's for me, because it makes me happy. Because when I look at it, it makes me excited to wear it. It makes me excited. It makes me want to smile. It makes me think that somebody else is going to look at me and go, oh, that's such a fun fashion statement. I bet you that makes her, you know, I want to be happy in what I'm wearing. And I think that's what I'm going to do from now on. Yes, sometimes I wear more subdued colors, but no, I really love bright colors. I mean, oh my God, I need like all the vests and all the colors and all the things. I need it all. Why not? I mean, Jesus, I'm wearing a shirt with boobs on it. Why not? Why not? It makes me happy. It makes me smile. When I watched in the chiropractor, I made every single person at the reception desk laugh, and probably made their, no, I don't want to say made their day. I don't want to give myself that much credit, but if it makes somebody else smile, great. Does it make me smile? Hell yes. And that's the most important thing. And I want to be that role model for my kids. Also, total sidetrack here. Total ADHD brain. Can't wait to get evaluated. I'm going to be evaluated for ADHD, guys. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Not because I just like to know how my brain works. I don't know if it'll change anything. of like if I do meds or anything like that, but just to understand myself and my brain and how things work, and so that will help me better communicate with others. I think that's really cool. But anyway, I'm working really hard at being a positive role model for my children, for my girls, both in mind, body, spirit, and hoping that they don't have any of the issues that I have with body dysmorphia, or sometimes I feel like I've had to water my personality down to make other people feel comfortable, and I just hate that. I hate that. I'm not going to water myself down anymore. I am 100% myself around very few people. I am 100% myself around my husband and my kids, and I am 100% myself around my knit friends and my best friend Shannon and Jenny, like the people that I have 100% chosen to be in my life. And I'm not saying that I've watered myself down a ton for other select people, but I do I have felt the pressure to do that around certain people or groups or areas, and I hate that. I hate that. I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm trying really hard not to. So I'm trying to be that positive role model for my kids. I don't know if anybody on here knows Elise Myers. She's a wonderful human, or at least she portrays herself that way, and I hope she's an authentic person. But she says, if I'm too much, then go find less. If I'm too much for you, then you go find less. I'm not the problem, you are. You're the one who has the problem with me, not the other way around. And I love that. I love that. So thank you, Elise Myers. You'll never see this video, and that's 100% okay. But I love you. And today I was watching, I'm a TikTok person. I love TikTok. I think it is extremely relevant for myself. I find lots of support from other moms, other stay-at-home moms. I find inspiration from makers and artists. I am informed because I follow news. I am so many things. Recipes, cleaning hacks, humor, which is a very important part of my day and for my mental health. And there's this one artist, she's a singer, and she writes positive music for kids. And she's called Mother Moon on Apple Music. And she has this song called I Love My Body. And I finally added it and was singing it in the car with Maggie today because I want that to be an anthem for my kids. I want it to be an anthem. I love my body from my head to my toes. I love my face, my eyes, my mouth, my nose. I love what I look, or something. I love what I see when I look in the mirror. It's a fabulous song. It's all about body positivity and loving yourself. And I want to do that for my kids. I want to do that. There's so many other fierce, powerful people empowering kids, women, just the world, humanity in general. And there's still so many people who are tearing us down. And I want my kids to be the light. I want them to know how to combat when people are trying to tear them down. I want them to know how to battle that, how to squash that, and how to build themselves up, because sometimes you have to do it yourself. Like, I love Lizzo. She's fabulous. If you guys haven't seen her, she has a reality show. I think it's called like Lizzo's Big Girls on Amazon Prime. And it is the most positive reality show I've ever seen in my life. She's wonderful. She wanted big girl dancers for her backup dancers for her tours, because that's what she wants to represent, something that's not already represented. And I think that's amazing. Her music is positive. She's a positive person. Instead of challenges where they were getting rid of, like kicking people off the show every week. It wasn't like that. You got to stay if you were hitting your marks. And the challenges were about loving yourself, loving the skin that you're in, your mind, your body, your soul, and pampering yourself, and all these. It was lovely. And as soon as there was a tiny little bit of petty cattiness from one of the contestants, she found out and kicked her out instead of keeping her for the drama factor. And it was so good. And one of her things that she said in it is, I want you to be a conduit for good. I want you to be a conduit for good. I was just, oh, so positive. So positive. That's what I want for myself and my kids. I want to be a conduit for good. I want my kids to be a conduit for good. I want them to be good. That's all I can ask for. I'd say I'm working pretty hard at it. Anyway, clearly I haven't podcasted in a while. I've rambled on for an hour and 15 minutes here. I will try to get this video edited tonight or tomorrow and get it posted, because tonight is knit night and I am going. I'm so excited. So I woke up this morning feeling amazing because it was knit night. It was knit day. And it's nap time. God, nap time's almost over. So I need to pack my bag for tonight so it's ready to go. Maybe do some laundry and get kids ready to go. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're still here. If you're not, that's okay. If you are, thank you. I'm sorry I was gone so long. I won't be gone that long again.